Hi, it's Xavier, and the frosty weather has forced me inside into my studio, so I apologise now for the lighting. I mentioned in my last video that as a fallback I was going to start investigating my roots on rocks. A couple of years ago I put a number of different varieties into plant pots and threw rocks over them in an attempt to see how quickly they would grip and whether they would actually be a success. So I've done a couple of Trident Maple, done about 5 or 6 Chinese Elm, and I also had a go at a Fuji Cherry. I'm not convinced the Fuji Cherry will grip, but we'll have a look at that in a minute because I'm going to have a little explore. Now, once we've had a look at the Fuji Cherry, I'll make a decision whether I can actually expose it fully or whether I'll just take a little bit off the top. But anyway, rather than yap, what we'll do, we'll have a look first of all at this tree, which is my first successful root on rock. It's put onto a Chinese Elm, and I'm pretty impressed with it. The roots have gripped firmly on this rock. It's just a bit of granite. I had it fully covered up for probably 2 or 3 years, and then I've just slowly been exposing it. But what I'm going to do today is I actually want to expose that further and have a look and see what's going on down there, and may even think about changing the angle of it a little bit so I can get a little bit more of the rock, but that just depends to see what we find under there. Okay, so we'll have a look at this one, but just so you know now, I've got to decide what pot I want to put that in. It's okay now, and that's a more than a large enough pot, but it last got repotted I think 3 years ago. So I'm having a look at some options, and we're either going to go for this Dawn Isaac, primitive or scraped bark. Some nice dark, and that could look good. I'm looking for something because that's green on green and grey. They're all very sombre colours. I'm looking for something that's going to grab the eye. So we've got that. On my return from Doncaster the other weekend, I actually picked up this very simple black glazed heavy pot, only a £5. This might be my my surprise choice actually. I haven't really potted anything black, but I've got a funny feeling the black and the green will work quite well, so there's that one. Or we go for another Dawn Isaac, and this one where she's got a mottled sort of graduated green glaze on it. Similar sort of size to the one it's in, but just a lighter green. So they're the 3 options. But as well as looking at that one, put this to one side for now. These Trident Maple, got a bit of roots coming out of there, got some lovely weeds. I've got 2 Tridents I want to look at. Again, weeds there. Now I've kept these inside deliberately because of the, I think it's going to be -2 tonight, but I still want to crack on with these. And then also just one of the Chinese Elms, and so I've got about 5 of these, the rocks there. So what we need to do is first of all we need to clear off the rubbish from the top, and then we'll go and have a look and see what's down in the engine room, as I like to say. Okay, well we've cleared this off. I really can't remember how it's seated on there. Comes away from the top, so I don't know whether this is a good example, but it'll give me an idea of how quickly roots have developed. Up here we've got a load of roots coming upwards, so I don't know whether they're from this tree or not. So as I say, it is the first time that I've actually done the root on rock project with these. The actual cutting itself, as I say, it's a 4-year-old cutting. It is looking quite nice. Anyway, but this is what I dug out of it. Look at that. Now that's a taproot for a weed. That was wrapped all around the base. So we don't want them. I'm not convinced it's gripped. Soil is very loose. I don't like how loose the soil is. Now the other option is you can actually cut away part of the lip on these. I'll leave that one for now. I'm not sure about that. We'll see maybe if there's some difference on this. This one's got a lot more root growth down the bottom. Looking at this second one, again there's the rock there, and it's, if I remember rightly, there's a rock going down there and it's straddled across it. But again, I'm finding all these surface roots are definitely from this, and I'm wondering, soil is still quite loose on it. It's not that compact that you can just pull it out easily. So it may be that these need to grow a lot more for another year or so This Chinese elm is going to be a different story, I'm sure of it. So let's get the top, let's get these roots off. Let's get this top layer off. I put a little cutting in there, but I'm not bothered about that anymore. Don't know what that's cutting off. Doesn't matter how many times you do root on rock, it's always a bit of a gamble, knowing when to take it off, and the fear is you take it off too early, it all falls to pieces in your hands. But here's the thing, if you do that and it all falls apart, then it probably means that the way you've prepped it just isn't good enough in the first place. So, looking at this, we've got the rock here, and it comes down on here as well. And then I'm not sure exactly how I've done it. There we go. You can see the rocks there, there's the roots there. So I've straddled that over the rock again. So we'll have a look at this one. Right, so we've got, already we can see we've got this lovely big root down here. There's the rock. Roots over this side. What I might just do is just see if we dig it away a little bit, just see what we've got. I mean, these are brilliant. These are roots from the tree. You see there's just there, it's a little grip, they're gripping in the rock there a bit. But I'm just wondering whether I've got a little bit too much soil, which is actually keeping it away. It actually seems as though it's stuck to that rock, to be honest. So what I want to do, yeah, that is definitely, if you look at that, you can carry it on there. Oh, we've got Katrina singing. And I think I said to Tony, I said when you do root on rock, if you're in the early stages of them, get loads of Chinese elm on them. Everyone, Chinese elm. Because you just get that a lot more from the roots. Okay, that is definitely gripped in there. I am actually wondering about just closing them in more. Got roots coming under the bottom, but just getting it in a lot closer. So I think once we've sorted that out, be very careful because that could have just a very tenuous grip on that still. Okay, so it's definitely started to apply there, but what I want to do is take this big root and wrap it right around very tightly to continue to provide a way of looping that up, looping or whatever. So I'm actually going to be attaching all sorts of roots and right. So first thing I want to do is get that this re-secured. I want this nice and tight. Okay, we'll just tie it off with a good old granny. Okay, so I've now wrapped this root up and under, so it's going to come up and under here. You know, there's root growth here, but a little root here, which ideally we want to be bringing. So when I pot it, I want that root to be firmly on the base. But I think potting angle wise, I'll probably go for that. So we're going to put it back in there. And you see, there's some really nice roots, but we need more. Now I won't pretend that while I was doing that I was a little bit nervous because I did notice it did start to loosen on the rock, but what I did establish there was that the uppermost roots, the ones right here, have moulded to that shape. So what I'm trying to do now is to encourage the lower ones to do just the same thing and just continue to feed them. And root on rock, there's several ways. You either slowly bring the soil down, or in this case I've actually investigated it. I'm glad I have, because it's given me a chance to take one of those big feeder roots and wrap it back up and around and up. So, you know, hopefully we'll get some good stuff from that. So I'm going to put it back in the back in this. Got nothing in the base, so let me prepare that and I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've just positioned it in the rock. So now we're going to have a lot more of the rock sitting. Now this is definitely important that you get a really good, get those rocks, that soil right in all the crevices, because you're trying to aid the pushing of roots against the rock. And as I say, this is still 2 years. This isn't a slow process. Sorry, this isn't a fast process. You know, that's 2 years. And how's the best way of maximising root growth? Is to let this thing go. So, you know, I probably won't prune that much on this. Now I can put sphagnum around there. I actually want these to dry out. Okay, just hold some of those a bit further in. And I probably do want a bit of sphagnum moss there actually. Pack that in there. Now in hindsight I should probably have planted that deeper so that I could still cover a bit more of that root. And that's because I was filming, so I thought you'd want to see more of the rock. Just having a look there. These roots, they're relatively tight on there, but this stuff here, I'm just going to put away around a bit of the soil. I want that to get tighter, so I'm going to use the tinfoil method, which means I'm just going to take a bit of this soil out. Moist sphagnum. There. Got no roots there on my dam. That area there is happily curved around it, so I want that to dry out. That's one where I am happy. And this here, I want that to dry out as well. So I'm generally happy with everything that's on this side. We might have some small roots down there. I possibly just want to grow a bit more or whatever. So I'm going to find a way of keeping that on there. Packing the foil in tight around. Double it over. Water can get down through there. So water will always get in there and keep it nice and damp. I shouldn't put quite so much soil in there to begin with, because what you're actually doing is just using the soil as a weight against. Now give that a good watering. We'll have a bit of overflow on it. All I'm using that for is to just try and keep, I just want to keep the roots at the front there a little bit moist. Use this sphagnum moss to do that. Tin foil just helps keep it in and also keeps the light off to a degree. So the roots don't die out, because they haven't yet gripped anything, so if they just died out they'll stay straggly and I'll end up having to trim them off. And I want to try and get a few more there around there. It doesn't always work, but you know, you throw your dice and see what happens. So I'll water this, and it's just a matter of now looking at this. I don't really need to make any decisions, but I can do some obvious things. This is going to be our first branch up here, so let's get rid of the lower stuff here. Some of these are just starting to bud out. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see here against my finger. Well, you can see them anyway. Buds just starting to swell out. This is the ideal time for those Chinese elms. Those Chinese elms that you're not actually repotting or anything. Get in there with the scissors and get some pruning done. Basically, to the last 3 buds I would do. Interesting shape here. I'm not doing any wiring, anything like that. And the chances are, I can imagine in this design, this branch would actually go, but I just want as much growth going without it getting too tangled. Yeah, again, this is temptation already to start trying to pick branches. And the truth is, I want the branches because I want growth. I want to avoid any instances where I'm going to create inverse taper or inverse swelling now, and that is what you do need to try and watch out. And the other reason you want to keep on top of your Chinese elm is because the scale insects love them, as I'm sure you've seen from that video I did. I've just been pulling a few off now. I've noticed on some of my bigger ones there's already scale starting to come up. Just make sure that you're not that any of your junctions are restricted to just 2, because even at this stage they will start swelling. So you need to be on top of that. There it is there. As you can probably guess, I'm really quite happy with that. But that's 2 years to that point, plus 4 years as a cutting, so 6 years to this point. But if you got yourself a small nursery plant, lots of roots on it, you can start now. 2 years, you should be at this stage. These grip quickly. Give it a spin. It's a nice sort of shape there, and those roots have gripped. And then the sphagnum under there. And that's it there. That is going to make a beautiful, beautiful root on rock. It's well on its way now, and hopefully you can see from that how you do that with a Chinese elm. I say now, I would not be pulling that Trident Maples apart that I looked at earlier, having seen how this was and how much more it gripped it. But I want to look at one of them just to show you what to do if you have a look and explore and you find that you've basically pulled the soil off too quickly. So let's get that Trident Maple back out, shall we? Okay, so it's a choice of either of those two. Maybe I'll go for that one, actually. Are you ready for this? Because I'm a little bit nervous about it. As I say, I've got about 6 that I've put on rocks, and this will be my judge for telling me where they're at. Best place is to hold a rock. Okay. Well, we've got some soil that stayed together. That's something. Now we're going to need to do some very, very careful exploration. Now when I go do this, I'm always peeling down, because that will be the way that I've been trying to encourage these roots to go. Okay, trying to get a feel for where the rock is on this. Good amount of root growth. Root growth. Okay, we've got a lot of roots there. Okay, so we can get a sense of the rock, that's for sure. It's definitely not gripped it tightly. So, having looked this far, all I want to do is remove a little bit of the soil. That will then allow me to get my Rafia back on and close those in a lot tighter. Now this was originally wrapped in Rafia. You can see 2 years the Rafia has disappeared. And I tell you, okay, I can give you an idea of what the fault with this is, and there's a good reason this has gone wrong. There's a lot of soil actually underneath the roots, which means I didn't actually keep them tight enough to the face of the rock itself. Okay, this is going to have to be reapplied, I think. So will I revisit the other ones? Probably, because looking at this, you can't tell from here, but I've actually got roots that have actually got themselves into crevices and stuff like that. Okay, so that's just held back down firmly on there, which is what I needed. Got a root there that's coming away from the rock, which is not helping me at all. we'll get rid of that because I want to be wrapping those up and under. Now I'm going to try something a little bit different this time because my original method didn't work as well as I wanted it to. I've seen people use just the tinfoil approach and then put that into a pot. Water will get in there, so let's see what happens. I've got roots there. The reason for this again is I've got the opening there so I can get water in there. Now what I'm going to do is put it in. Again, it's a combination of the pressure of the soil around it, plus tin foil holding up. Be careful not to rip tin foil with the chopstick. Again, you want to fill in all your spaces. Now, the advantage I've got here is that there's not going to be a problem with water getting in there. I've never done that before, so I don't know if just going straight with the sphagnum over the remaining roots, tin foil over the top and then soil is going to work better than anything else. Obviously we want to just prune it a little bit. That'll look nothing like the finished tree, but it's the rock I'm worried about. So that's that one done. Do you know what? Should we have a look at the Chinese Elm that I showed you to begin with and see what the repot of that will look like into the black pot? Come back to you in a sec. Okay, so let's have a look at this one, shall we? As I say, it's been in this for 3 years. And again, although it's got a good grip on the rock, what you don't want to do is be so heavy-handed with it you end up ripping it off the rock. See, it seems to be fairly gripping the rock, but I'm still, I still take a little bit of care. Again, holding the rock more than. Got a lot of roots down there. Right, this will be a slow process. Nothing more than me doing lots of this very slowly, in slow motion. So we'll come back when I've done it. Still firmly on the rock, which is lovely. We've got a big root down here. Get rid of that. Roots there. Get rid of that. And I'm just taking off a lot of these big ones. Got something here, carefully support. And it is gripping rock beautifully, but I just want to get rid of some of these winders. There we go. Okay, that will do. How do we think it's going to look in there? Go black. It's quite heavy on it actually. Okay. Gosh. Could work. See, the good thing now it's gripped the rock so well I can really lift that out high. Actually like that. It might be a change there. I might go for that lighter. I know some people will go for the darker, but I think that's a favourite. Gosh, that looks quite nice as well. That looks quite nice as well. I did want to go for that primitive looking one. I've gone for this in the end. I needed the extra size, and the reason why is because when I wanted to do the repot, I actually wanted to change the angle from side on to just a little bit front on, so we get to see that interesting root, which means just clip the side of the roots, and I needed a bit more space in a pot to do it. And now it's a lot higher up. Okay, so now we just have to do some very, very careful chopsticking. Now, because of the rock, it's already got a weight. I don't actually need to tie this down, so I won't. That's all quite dirt and that, so I'm going to actually let that dry out, and then we'll just see how that. Hopefully there's a ridge of rock here. And pruning, I'm literally just pruning back to shape where you've got extra long, like here. Extra long, it comes all the way from there, all the way up there. Absolutely no good to anyone. Over long shoots, take right back, and it will start again from buds a lot further back, giving you tighter growth. And that's what you want with these. Clear up so you can actually see in there. Anything going backwards, get rid of. Okay, so I've trimmed it up. I think you'll agree with me, it's looking a lot better than it was. And now give you a spin. I think that's going to be the front. I love that pot. A little bit more of the roots have been exposed. And as these dry off, it should look quite impressive as well. I'll give it a feed up. But there you go. So, and really what you've seen me do there is I've changed the angle slightly and raised it higher up. But apart from that, that little roots on rock, I think, is pretty impressive. So hopefully you've had a bit more insight into roots on rock. These were at 2 years. The one that I've just repotted was at 7 years, and the one that little Trident Maple that we had a look at, I'm probably going to go and do that off for camera and treat it exactly the same way as I did that one. I did do a little bit of filming outside of when I did the Fuji cherry and checked on the roots on rock on that. So, from Xavier, having had the opportunity to play around with roots on rock because of this unexpected frost, I'll say, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope the light isn't too bad in here, and I look forward to doing some more. We've got some major repots to do in another week or so. It's going to be busy, busy, busy. The main one is that big Chinese elm that I've promised you. I've looked through all the comments, and trust me, I'll be discussing all those different options. So if you did contribute, then I definitely recommend you listen, if only to hear your name called out. And for those of you who don't want that, well, unlucky, it's going to happen. From Xavier, in the indoor studio, feeling very hot under the lights, I'll say thanks for watching. If you love this stuff, then please subscribe, hit notifications, but otherwise, happy bonsaiing, cheers, God bless.